So I just found out something really cool that you can do with DaVinci Resolve. You can make your own custom transitions. I've got one over here called Pop Zoom. I'll show you what it looks like. Make it a little longer, you can see it. Oh, my computer's a bit laggy, but it looks like this. Pretty neat. And I made it myself. I can even change parameters about it. I can turn on and off motion blur. I can change the scaling offset. And it is very time saving. So I'm going to show you how to do this. And I know there are a million tutorials on YouTube that show you how to make your own transitions, but this one's different because I'm also going to show you how to actually make him not terrible. There are a bunch of extra things that you basically need to know to use this feature properly, and none of the videos explain them. I spent about the last day or so figuring all that stuff out, so you found this video and you hopefully don't have to spend your next day with that. So how do we do it? Well, first I want to show you where the transitions in Resolve actually are located. I have a path here, opt Resolve Fusion templates, and this has a zip file in it. It looks like this, and if we find the transitions, you see all of the default transitions that are built into Resolve. They have their little logos here and their .setting file. This is where the actual transition is. This is the .setting file. And if you want to make your own transitions or share transitions or get some from the internet, you're going to need to put them in a different place. .local share DaVinci Resolve Fusion templates edit transitions. This is where they are. You can see I've already made a few. This is because these are your own transitions. The ones I showed you before are the built-in ones. So now that you know what a transition is, let's make one. We're gonna start off with just a regular cross dissolve, and I'm gonna make it very long because this is gonna be kind of a camera comparison reveal line going back and forth. You'll get it when you see it. And we're gonna right click on it and convert to Fusion cross dissolve. Because now we can click this little icon and open it inside of Fusion, which is where we'll be making our own thing. This cross dissolve, you can just delete it, you probably don't need it. And now we have media in 1 and media in 2. This is the first clip you can see right here. And media in 2 is the second clip that we're going to be transitioning to. So we're going to be merging them together. And I'm just going to real quickly make the transition here. This is media merge mask media mask, and that needs to fill the whole frame and be in the left corner. And now we want a line. God, it's making a mess. You can hit F2 to rename it. And I suggest you give them some sensible names. It's gonna make your life a lot easier later. And we're gonna want a mask, line mask. I'll just make this white. Looks nice. But we can change that later. And there you go. Now we want this line here, white line, to follow the line where we're merging them. And I'm going to introduce you to the first super cool feature called expressions. If you right click on the little diamond here, you can set an expression. We're going to want to set an expression for center X. And we'll make that equal to media mask dot width. This is why it's important to name your variables, or your nodes, divided by 2, and there you go. Now you can see when we change the width of this, the white line follows. And that saves you so much time. This is such a cool way of doing things. And we're going to be using these later in the video as well, because they're super useful. Now I have to introduce you to the second cool feature of the video called AnimCurves. Again, right click here and then hit modify with AnimCurves. You can already see if we scroll through, it did kind of the right thing. We just have to change the scale to 2 because we want to go all the way over to the right side of the frame. Now if we take a look at our transition, you can see it does exactly what we wanted to, or almost exactly. It's actually a little problem here. If we go to the very first frame, the white bar isn't out of the frame. So to fix that, we're going to go back into our media mask and offset it at just the width of the line. We can do that with an expression like this. Minus line mask width. And we're also going to want to do that on the other side. Expression 2 plus line mask width times 2. And just like that. Now it is the way we want it, except it's still a bit boring. So we're going to change the easing curve to something very funky. Not every day that you get to use multiple points on a curve like this. If I wanted to actually do this for real, I'd spend a bit more time on it, but that's probably good enough. Just for the sake of demonstration, that's our transition. So now we'll get to what the video is really about, and that's saving this stuff. So to do that, we're going to start off by selecting everything and grouping it with Control G. I'll call this compare. Now this node, we're going to want to open it in a text editor. And to do that, we just have to Control C it and then open up our file manager and make a new text file. Call it compare.setting, and then paste our clipboard into that. Now we can open it with a text editor. If you don't have one, I recommend kwrite. It's free and it's pretty good. But I'm going to use neovim because I know how to use it. And the first thing we're going to do is delete this line, name set, because we don't need it. And I'm also going to rename these inputs because that's convention. And then we're going to create another input. And once I've done that, it's going to be much easier for you to understand why we're doing this. We're going to call it input 1. It's going to be an instance input. And if this all looks very confusing, this is called JSON. It's a very standard format, and I suggest you read a quick guide how to use it if you don't know. So first key is source OP. And that's going to be the name of the node we're referring to. In this case, we're going to want to refer to line mask. That's what I'll write. And then source is the property that we want to refer to, which is width. And I'll call this thing line width. And we'll have a default value of 0.015. Notice we're missing quotes here. That's because it's a number. So now we could just paste this thing, but Resolve is a little bad at picking up your clipboard, so I suggest you just drag and drop the file like this, because that always works. Now we just hook it up again. And now we can see when I select this group, it has line width. We can change the line width here. And obviously it just goes into the line mask node and changes the width. But this is an easier way to do it. And crucially, when you go into the edit page, I'm just going to restart Resolve. Sometimes it takes a little while to pick it up. Now, if we select it, you can see I can change the line width from right in here. And you don't ever have to go into Resolve and mess around with, or into Fusion and mess around with all the technical bits. We'll also want to change the line color from in here. And in order to do that, we have to get a little bit more advanced. We're going to create another input. Instance input. And this is going to be referring to our line color. The background node that we had. Source OP line color. And what property are we going to be referring to? Well, it's actually called top left red. And then we're going to need to name it line color. And then we need a control group. And this isn't just stuff that I know. This is something that I copied from another .settings file from one of the built-in presets. Go away. And actually we also want to paste this 3 more times. Like this. Because we also want one for green. We want one for blue. And we want one for the alpha. Now we can close out of the file and throw it back into Resolve. Just to check that everything works. And see? Oh, not right here, it hasn't updated yet, but you can see right in here, you can change the line color to some ugly color. And once I restart Resolve, it's also going to pop in here. And you can right click and create a transition preset, but we already made the file in here, so it's already going to be inside of our Fusion transition. See it? It's right here, compare. And I can put it here. Make it 4 seconds long. Change some things around, make it blue. And it's gonna look great. Well, it looks pretty ugly, but it works great. And you can change it to any duration you want. And you can use any frame rate project you want because we use those AnimCurves. This is the correct way of doing things. So that's basically it. If you found the video helpful, then that's great. And if you have a better way of doing these things or just some other Fusion tips, make sure to leave them in the comments.